Hello, and welcome back. Let's get me on the screen. How we doing? Welcome back to Mayday, the show about a show. A show about the show. I'm gonna get it. I think I got it last 2 weeks ago, but now here we are again. And take 1 week off, forget everything that we're trying to do. It is Tuesday. I know it is weird. A little catch up on me. I have flown just about 20,000 miles in the last 3 weeks, gone to the East Coast 3 separate times, and just got back from my second edition of the Nerdcast on ESPN2 for Sunday Night Baseball, where we got to partake in the Tarek Skubal absolute pitching masterclass. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. It was a blast to do. I have 4 more of them coming up. I get 2 weeks off, and then we're gonna go 4 more weeks of that. So there will be some Tuesdays. If you guys are wondering what days the shows are gonna be, I'm trying to remind you both on Trevor May Baseball's YouTube channel, for everyone over there at Foul Territory, to tell you, hey, this week is Tuesday, or you can go to IamTrevorMay.com, which is our Substack, and at the top, there is a show schedule link. It is just a Google calendar that'll tell you what days the show is scheduled for, and it's actually pretty scheduled into the future. So if you're wondering, hey, when's the next show, you can always go check there. So I do appreciate it, your patience with me. A lot of fun stuff happening. We have been working very hard over here at Mayday to put a good show together for you, and we got a doozy because there has been some news in the last 2 weeks. So let's chat, and let's just start with a little bit of not so happy stuff. That is the New York Mets. The June swoon is upon them, but it is no longer June. It was a tough month of June for the Mets, especially that second half. It was another June swoon. By the way, anyone not familiar, that is what they call it in Mets fandom, and I can't argue with it at this point. It is pretty much a recurring thing. They lost 13 of the last 16 games, and just so you know, a lot of these statistics are through yesterday, like in the middle of the day, so they might have played better last night. I've been away, so I hang out with my son, so just please don't get super mad at me. But going into the weekend, they were swept through Sunday anyway. They were swept by the worst team, well, one of the worst teams in the National League, and outscored 30-4 by the Pittsburgh Pirates at home. Nobody likes to see that ever, especially right now with the type of skid they're on, 3-13 in their last 13 going into the day yesterday. In the month of June, they have been injured as hell, and I want to talk a little bit about what's going on and then maybe what we can cross our fingers for moving forward in the future, because even despite all of this, they're still close to the Phillies in first place. They are still very competitive, and they did not fall under 500. So that just shows how good the team was at the beginning of the year. But they have been crushed by injuries. They have lost Tyler McGill. They lost Griffin Canning for the year to the Achilles. Don't watch that video. Don't look it up. Kodai Senga is banged up and gone down, and Sean Manaea, last year's kind of hero of the rotation, has not made a start yet this year. And he was a guy we penciled in as one of their big pieces of the rotation now. And he hasn't made any effect on this season. But he is on his way, and he is throwing, so there is a positive there. I think that it goes to show, and this is all pitchers, by the way, it just goes to show like how much the guys who filled in, the Tyler McGills and the Griffin Cannings and even the Paul Blackburns, of the rotation, have filled in why the guys were hurt at the beginning of the year. They did such a good job that it was probably inevitable that they came down to earth a little bit, and we saw that happen. You can put David Peterson in that group, even though he has been great for the last 2 years. He's had a little bit of regression, had some mistakes taken advantage of against good lineups, and he is still throwing really well, but, adjusted a little bit. So injuries have not helped them, and the starting pitching has not been great in the last couple weeks. Specifically, it's been 14 games since a starter got an out in the 6th inning. Now, as a bullpen guy, looking at going into the day, and you think that there is no way that your starting pitcher is going to go deep enough in this game where at least 4 relievers are going to pitch. That is if the game's close. That can wear on you as well. That can wear on the 8 guys down there because they are covering just a couple more outs. Maybe there's guys having to warm up, 1 extra guy having to warm up. And when that happens for 2 weeks consistently, suddenly you see the bullpen start to show some cracks as well. So we don't want that to happen. But unfortunately, when you lose out on this many innings from the starters, things aren't going very well. And you know what? It is the middle of the summer. There's kind of, I talk about this a lot, but there's kind of 2 dog days of summers areas in during the season, right? It's 162 games, so you're going to have these roller coasters of like energy, and then other times where it gets monotonous. It could get very lackadaisical very easily if you don't get a little help or get a little bit of extra rest or what have you. And one of those areas is mid-June, where the All-Star break's still far enough away to where we're not that close. But it's starting to warm up. It's starting to get really hot in most places for the first time, so you're dealing with the heat. And every team experiences this a little bit, unless this is when they get all their young guys to infuse them with like guys who haven't been there the whole time. That's the best way to kind of avoid. The June swoon kind of applies to everybody at some point. The Mets just seem to get hit by it every single year. But there is a little bit of like I need a second win here. I need a break. And that All-Star break starts to look more and more and more enticing as you get closer. Now, one of the hardest things to do in baseball is not look forward, but this is something that is common. This is something that happens, and it is one of the hardest times to make huge, lasting adjustments because of everything I just mentioned, right? You're like, your body's getting a little tired, and getting a day off here and there might be necessary. But if you need to work on a bunch of stuff, you got to have to balance the rest with the work, and that is much easier said than done. In this last half of this month specifically, but in the month of June, the offense has slowed down a little bit, and honestly, the offense really hasn't been very clutch all year, as they are hitting. They're 29th in the league, hitting .217 with runners in scoring position. One of the biggest, I think, purveyors or biggest, one of the people doing this the most is the $750 million man, Juan Soto, right? So he has not been clutch, but historically he is very clutch. So I would not expect that number to stay low, and I would not expect the Mets to continue to be 29th in the league there. I think this is going to get better. That's like one of those so bad, the lineup's too good for it to be that bad for too long. They've also struggled a little bit in the back end of the lineup, which honestly is kind of hurting a lot of teams. The Phillies were struggling with it for a while. The Braves are really, honestly, if anybody's struggling with not getting any production beyond the 5th hitter in the lineup, it is the Atlanta Braves as well. So at least the other two teams that they are competing against are also having those same issues of getting production at the back end of that lineup. And Francisco Alvarez gets sent down, so he's to work on some stuff. Hopefully he figures that out quickly and comes up and is able to kind of add some thump back there. Mark Vientos isn't Mark Vientos from last year. He is hitting 220 with 645 and has been banged up and only has 6 home runs. But them bringing back Pete Alonso was a big reason, was big for them. Had they not done that, they would have been putting even more on Vientos. So he still has enough space. He still can get lost in that lineup enough to where he can figure things out without it being so glaring, and hopefully that is also what's happening as well. And like I mentioned, let's just bring this all the way back because the Mets, June swoon, you never want to see it. There are some things to look forward to. So let's touch on some hope. I want to end with a little bit of hope here in our opening dialogue, and that is Sean Manaea is throwing and will likely rejoin the team, if I had to guess, a little bit after the All-Star break. The All-Star break is going to be that kind of switch flipping time, and I hope we see a healthy, high-quality Sean Manaea. You know he's doing the work. Them getting him is going to be big to help anchor the front of that rotation. Number 2, Juan Soto is getting red hot in the last 30 games. He is triple slashing, 317 average, 465 on base, and a 713 slugging. Good for over 1,000 OPS, and he's got 12 home runs in that time. That is the Juan Soto that you paid for. That is the Juan Soto you started to get. Now, the clutch needs to come along with that, but once he gets hot, usually gets hot all the time. And another positive thing is Pete Alonso's been pretty rock solid all year. No major slumps. He's gotten, cut up a little bit. He's been had good pitching do well against him a little bit, but for the most part, Pete Alonso is still raking, and Mets fans should be very excited that Pete Alonso is still on their team. So, what do we need to do? Scrape across just a couple of wins. See if you can split some series. See if you can just steal a couple series and get to the All-Star break with a solid striking distance record intact, because once these guys get going, there is not another team that will be able to hang, and I know that will happen. I know that they know that will happen. And when your team is banged up, especially guys who are technically healthy but like have some nagging stuff going on, best thing you can do is get some rest, and the All-Star break, it's right there. It's literally right there. You can see it. It's right there. And though they are going to have a bunch of All-Stars, hopefully those 3-4 days will get them that blow that they need and possibly get the guys like Sean Manaea back to put them in a position to go on a run here. And if I have to make a prediction, I think the Mets win the division. That's all I'm saying. I'm not biased. Anyway, I want to know what you think, and also quick credit to Will Salmon from The Athletic for a lot of the reporting that went into this report. So Will Salmon, thank you so much for your service, my friend. New York Mets, do you think they can do it? You think they're ready to make a comeback here? Do you think they're ready to turn it on? Do you think they're going to take it to the finish line? Let me know down in the chat/comments. I know how you guys are. All right, let's take a little bit of housekeeping before we get into our into the news for the day. A little bit of housekeeping for y'all. The Substack is available. Join the Substack. It's IamTrevorMay.com. A lot of you may be familiar with that, but on the Substack, I got a bunch of things in the works that are going to be exclusive to Substack. For example, here's a little teaser preview. I have a Substack-only video that is in the works that is going to explain deception from pitchers with examples using all of the advanced analytics that go into determining deception. So when you hear these numbers, you know what the hell they mean in real life. I think that's a big thing that happens. We're still getting some weird feedback or some weird resistance on analytics, as if analytics and like using your eyes are like different somehow, when in reality they're literally the same thing. They just are approaching the problem from different directions. Like you can use numbers to tell you what's happening without having to watch the video of everybody doing everything. It allows you to kind of aggregate 500 pitches without having to watch every single pitch. That's the way I use it. So I think that video is going to be a lot of fun. You can use the QR code right here down in on the graphic there, and hit me with a subscription. Subscriptions are free, or paid subscriptions are also going to include awesome things like merch discounts, which we got some new merch coming out. That will also be announced over there, and some new articles, and I just post some stuff from time to time. So please go check it out. And once again, if you are subscribed to the Substack, you'll just know what the schedule is. So you can't argue with that. All right, before we get into the news, really quickly, we got a word from a sponsor. See you in a moment.
Building a hair growth routine is easy. Only if you go with Nutrafol. Why is that, Todd Father?
Nutrafol, you think about hair. For me, sometimes the hair gets thinning. This thing will thicken your hair up as much as you need. You think about going to weddings, you're going to the beach, you're just hanging out with friends, and you want to take photos. You want your hair to look good, and this is the best possibility for it.
Yeah, and thinning hair is different for men and women. So a one-size-fits-all approach to hair growth, that's not it. Okay, they have multiple formulas for men and for women that are tailored to fit different stages of life. Okay, so go check out Nutrafol. Building a hair growth routine can be easy, and you order online. There's no prescription needed as well. Free shipping, automated deliveries, and for a limited time, Nutrafol is offering the FT fam $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code FOUL, F-O-U-L. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code FOUL.
Nutrafol is offering our listeners and watchers $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code FOUL. As a bald, which I am joining the club quickly, my dad was right. This is something that I highly recommend you do if you are worried about thinning that hair up there. They do a good job. And a lot of people have gotten really great benefits. So if you're balding, give them a shot. All right, let's just get into the news. All right, let's get into some heckin' news. Quite a few things happened here going into the final week of spring training as we get ready. News. I'm gonna try to develop my skill at getting quickly through these things and just hitting them, all right?
Let's get into the news.
Let's get into the news, and our first piece of news is once again about the big dumper. He's done it again. He hits his 33rd home run before July. Which ties Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr. and Sammy Sosa for the third most home runs hit before July in MLB history. I repeat, that is the third most home runs hit before July in MLB history. He plays for the Mariners, and he's a catcher. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. You notice I didn't say Barry Bonds, by the way? He has only Barry Bonds, who hit 39 in 2001. What happened that year again? Oh, yeah. And Mark McGwire, 37 to 98. What happened that year again? Oh, yeah, both those guys broke the home run records, have hit more before July 1st. Those two guys. He is listed with Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, Ken Griffey Jr., and Mark McGwire. That's pretty good. I got to give him a little bit of love. He hit his major league, and he's leading the major leagues with a 33rd homer and a 6-2 victory against the Kansas City Royals last night. He also is leading the MLB with 71 RBIs, which is also worth noting. Pretty sure that's like half the RBIs on the Mariners right now, and he's the fastest Mariner player to hit that total since Brett Boone did it in 84 games in 2003. Interesting. He's also a switch hitter. He's leading the league in slugging percentage. And he is leading the league in slugging percentage, both from the right side and the left side. That is, how did I not read that before? That is insanity. From the right side, he is hitting 763, and from the left, it is 600 flat. And his 30 home runs as starting catcher this year are tied with Todd Hundley for the most before August in MLB history. That's before August. It's just July. So he's definitely going to break that one. Big Dumper, continue doing what you're doing so that all my friends here in Seattle can continue to have something to enjoy and be happy about. Thank you so much. Moving on, Wilner Abreu makes history with a grand slam and an in the Parker in a Red Sox win. He had a grand slam in the park solo home run for the Boston Red Sox Monday night in a rousing 13-6 victory at Fenway. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. The video, the ball hits in the craziest top of the wall in the triangle in center field out there, the 420 sign, and it caroms in the This is a once in a lifetime type hit. So you need to go watch that because Wilyer is not known for his speed, but nobody was getting thrown out with this ricochet. He finished with 2 for 5 with 5 RBIs. and continues to rake. According to ESPN research, became the first player to hit an inside the park home run and another homer be a grand slam in the same game since Roger Maris pulled off the feat in 1958. That was 70 years ago. So congratulations to you, Wilner. That was pretty impressive, and the guy can swing it. Tarek Skubal, what can we say about him? Skubal strikes out 13 on Sunday Night Baseball, and he seemed pretty jazzed, but I'll be honest. I think I might have been more. He did it against my Minnesota Twins, with the only guy really looking remotely comfortable at the plate being Byron Buxton, which, going into the game, Tarek Skubal, this is my favorite stat. We were really keyed up on this. Going into the game, Tarek Skubal had thrown 119 first pitches of game, 119 fastballs. Byron Buxton has swung at 60% of the first pitches of the game this year, which is the highest by 10%. So we're like, something's got to give here. He gets a fastball, he's coming out of his shoes. And what happens? Skubal throws a changeup, because of course he does. But the best part about the whole thing is Skubal smirks and Buxton smirks, and everyone's having a good time because those two guys were like, they know I'm the best pitcher, you're the best hitter on the team, let's go get it. And in Buck's defense, he put up some really, really good ABs, get him to the All-Star game for the love of God. And but Skubal would not be denied. At one point, he had struck out 7 straight, and we were on record watch. He got, I believe it was 26 swings and misses, and the first 7 strikeouts were all on changeups. He now has the most elite changeup in the major leagues by run value and by every metric, and he's top 3 in command. So the guy throws high 90s. We've talked about him a lot. And he throws it where he wants to, and he is legitimately unhittable. And he had a perfect game going into the 5th inning, which kind of got lost in all the other stuff I said. So, one of the most fun games I've watched on Sunday Night Baseball, and unfortunately it was against the Twins. But you gotta enjoy great pitching when you see it, and I gotta give him his props for that. Speaking of great pitching, Paul Skeens matched up against Jacob Misiorowski. We have covered both these guys at length. But this is what was so impressive about it. In Milwaukee, they sold out a pitching matchup between the Pirates, who are in last place, and the Brewers, a 3rd place team and a 5th place team. Now, this is amazing for a lot of reasons, one of which, these two guys are so electric, they're able to fill Milwaukee's ballpark just because they're both pitching. And it did not disappoint. Did not disappoint at all. We had Misiorowski struck out 8, allowed 2 hits and 2 walks in 5 shutout innings, and Paul Skeens got the loss in a 4-2 game. Misiorowski averaged 99.5 miles an hour. Skeens averaged 98.5. They represented the highest combined fastball velocity by 2 starting pitchers in the same game since 2009. Misiorowski specifically reached at least 100 miles per hour on 19 of his 74 pitches. He only threw 74 pitches. That's crazy. Establishing a career high of 102.4. And Skeens is like the veteran in this group. And he's like, you know what? I'm good. I've thrown 100 a lot. I'm all right. And the duel number 1 goes to Misiorowski. He's 3-0 with a 1.13 now. He struck out 19 when allowing only 3 hits and 7 walks over 16 innings. He's the first pitcher since 1900 with as many or more wins as hits allowed over his first 3 major league appearances, minimum of 15 innings pitched. That is impressive. If you can do something for the first time in 124 years, I'd say things are going good. So shout out to Misiorowski and Skeens. I cannot wait to see these two guys match up, and they did not disappoint. So keep it up. You know what today is? We've already said it. It's July 1st. That means it's Happy Bobby Bonilla Day, one of the worst deferred contracts in history, when the Mets turned $5.9 million into $30 million. Today, 62-year-old Bobby Bonilla will collect a check for $1,193,248.20. I don't know why there's 20 there. That seems silly. And he will still continue to get that same amount of money for the next decade. So silly. At the time, Mets ownership was invested in the Bernie Madoff account that promised double-digit returns, and so basically they gave him a contract with the idea that Bernie Madoff would help them pay it off, and now they can't because Bernie Madoff was, surprise, a scam artist. So the gift that keeps on giving, that's Bobby Bonilla. But guess what, guys? At the end of the day, we can all be happy for Bobby because he is making more money than checking notes. Pete Crow Armstrong, James Wood, Paul Skeens, Riley Green, Hunter Brown, Andy Pajes, and Jacob Wilson. Frickin' baseball. Am I right? I love Bob Bonilla. What a great story. All right, last couple things. This one's a little more somber. Actually, it's not somber. It pisses me off. Actually, you're going to hear a lot of me being pissed off in the next 34 minutes. So buckle the heck up. Ketel Marte, if you didn't see a week or so ago, had some horrible things yelled at him from a loser from the stands, some really personal stuff that a lot of people did not like, including his manager who was yelling at him from the dugout. And it was one of those perfect storm situations where there wasn't a lot of crowd noise, so it was really easy to hear him. It's Arizona, it's echoey there, so like I know for a fact that sound really carries. So he was getting it from right behind home plate, and he was like horrible stuff about his mother who passed away years ago, and obviously is a very sore part of it. It's just something you never get over, right? And that's just awful. So there's been some really great stuff that's come of it, but there's also some other players who've come out and spoken about their own experiences with this type of stuff. So last week at Rate Field, Guaranteed Rate Field in Chicago, Arizona Diamondback star Ketel Marte was brought to tears of the field. Sorry, this wasn't in Arizona. It was in Chicago. Let me pull that back. Though you can hear a lot from Arizona, there are no fans in Chicago. So that's probably why you can hear it. If you see the video, there's a video of the kid who was doing this. And he is a kid. He's like in his he's like 20 years old, maybe. So at least it wasn't like a 48-year-old man with 3 kids with him. If there is a positive side, at least that's a positive side. Something was said. Everyone heard it. The White Sox displayed Baseball is Family. Baseball community supports Ketel Marte at the Guaranteed Rate Field scoreboard the day after the incident. So they're playing, and the team themselves showed support, which I think is wonderful. And that fan has been banned for life from baseball. Baseball, all big league parts. Now, I don't know how you really, it's an honor system, and I'll have to see him, but I'm sure we might have most wanted posters put around this guy. We've talked about this a lot. Jaron Duran had the same thing happen. Something very similar happened in Cleveland, and it feels like there's a whole lot of people bringing their internet personas into the real world and finding out that that's not how it works. And I could say, hey, don't do that. Hey, there's no world where that should be done. X, Y, Z, everyone says that. But what I'm going to say is, you're not this isn't a hey man, be nice situation. This is a hey man, you're a loser and you're in trouble of being a loser forever. So take this as a growing opportunity to realize the consequences of actions, and that not only are you not very funny, the reason people are leaving rooms when you walk in isn't because of them. So you need to figure your life out, or people won't want you around. And that's not going to feel very good. So I'm trying to help you, and I'm talking directly to, I believe his name, it said Chad online. I think that might have been a joke, but I really don't know. Figure it out. You don't need that to feel good. And just do something else. I don't know, say, hey man, you're not good at baseball. Try to find something to show off how smart you are. Interestingly, we had. Well, I'm going to make this big for you. We had Garrett Whitlock's wife share some of her DMs she's gotten. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to see this stuff, and I don't really want to read a lot of it. But let's just say it's really horrific stuff about family members, and there are some betting stuff. No, it's about his kids, and we have people after Garrett Whitlock struggles on a baseball field attacking their children in DMs on social media because you're not edgy. When you have to go into the world, because you will have to, that stuff will not fly. So no matter whatever you feel, if you think it's funny and you're going to show your friends or whatever, trust me, your friends don't think it's that funny. They just don't want to cause a problem with you. Nobody likes it. And before you know it, nobody's going to like you. So figure it out. Leave them alone. There's so much stuff you can yell at an athlete. Just pick something else. Stop being losers. Thank you. All right, moving on. Something positive. Clayton Kershaw. Let's finish up our last story with Clayton Kershaw here. Clayton Kershaw is 3 strikeouts away from 3,000, and we are this close. This close to another 3,000 member of the 3,000 club, and he'll only be like 2,800 behind Nolan Ryan. So, congratulations, congratulations to you, Clayton Kershaw. He has an opportunity to become the 20th pitcher in MLB history to reach the milestone coming up on his next start, which I believe is later today. So, support out, thinking about you, Clayton. You are one of the greatest of my generation, of our generation, but also one of the greatest of all time. I hope you get it, and I hope it is an amazing moment because you deserve it, especially with how hard you've been working the last few years to stay on the field. So, congratulations. And he is also third in the currently playing players right now behind Max Scherzer and Verlander. So, you got this, man. Go get it. All right. Will he get, but I guess the last question here is, will he get it? I think he will. All right. Moving on to the main story. But once again, after this word.
It might be that time. If you're looking for a new car, there's one place to go that is going to take care of you, and it's Car Gurus.
Yeah. Looking for a car should be fun, not exhausting. Everywhere else, it's exhausting. You're dodging people. You're trying to just, can I look at this car? Car Gurus, you type in your search, you find the color that you want, it narrows it down for you, and all of a sudden you're like, this has been an exciting experience, and you got a great deal.
With over 4 million listings, Car Gurus has more car listings than any other major online automotive marketplace in the US, so you can find the best deal. It's no wonder SimilarWeb estimated traffic data shows Car Gurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site. Buy or sell your next car today with Car Gurus at cargurus.com. Go to cargurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. That's cargurus.com. Cargurus.com.
Buy or sell your next car today at cargurus.com and make sure your big deal is the best deal. Do it. All right. We got a fun story for you today. Fun story. Yesterday, little preface before I put my chapstick on. I'll be honest, YouTube comments have been wearing me out, so we're going to take care of that, Maura. Got a little Burt's Bees. Anywho's, our main story today, the lockout tour. So I was about to get on the plane coming back from Newark to Seattle yesterday, and I'm getting caught up on my baseball news, and a story pops up. Bam! Rob Manfred has said some stuff. Specifically, he's begun speaking publicly in regards to the potential storm on baseball's horizon. The next collective bargaining negotiation set to begin after the 2026 season. So, basically what happened, let me just share this real quick. So, this is the article in question. The title is, or the headline is, Rob Manfred has a plan. Tell players they've lost billions and build their trust in him. What? Okay, so let's just consider my interest peaked. Okay, I saw this and I was like, I wonder what this talks about. He recently outlined his plans on an investor call with the Atlanta Braves, and basically he wanted to lay out his plan for how he's going to approach the next collective bargaining agreement negotiation. So now, anyone who isn't familiar, we have younger fans in here that maybe are a little too young during the lockout in 2022, but anyone who doesn't know how this works, the skinny is collective bargaining is renegotiated every 5 years, okay? It's basically the league's constitution that breaks down how revenue sharing is going to happen and how economically we're going to protect players and all this kind of. So it's kind of like the document that informs how the game is going to change or not change in the coming 5 years. And then that document is binding until there is another renegotiation. We had one at the end of 2021 into 2022. There was a lockout almost a little bit into spring training. Now we're going to have another one in 2026. Rob Manfred got on this investors call, which the Braves are, I don't believe they are publicly traded themselves. I believe they are owned by a publicly traded company. So therefore, they're the only ones who publicly release their financials. All the other 29 teams don't. That's important to know. But it's rare for a commissioner to go on a call and share all this information, especially in a call that's being recorded and is available to the public, of how you're going to approach the next CBA. And he made about 5, I think I have 5, maybe 6 points here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go point by point, the things he tried to say, and I'm going to try to very clearly demonstrate how what he's saying is either a lie, misrepresented, or just stupid. I don't know how else to say it. I've been giving him a little bit more props lately because I think the pitch clock has worked. I think a lot of the rules stuff has worked. But some of the stuff he was saying are just generally like doesn't make any sense. And I'm here to show you why. So let's go through those points one by one and see if we can make sense of the argument he's trying to make. And we're even going to bust out the whiteboard, so get ready. All right. Point number one. One thing that Rob Manfred wants is a free agency deadline. So what a free agency deadline would be is there would be a point in the winter, probably close to spring training, within weeks of spring training starting, that is the last day you can sign free agents. And then there would be a dead period before you could start doing it again, right? Some sort of mechanic that keeps these big negotiations from going as long as they have. Okay, I understand as a media member, that would actually make my job a little bit easier. There's something to cover there, right? There's a little part of benefit there for me as a media member, okay? So great, a little bit of media member love for me. And what it does for the teams, the same way that a lockout does, is it creates a deadline where they have leverage the whole time. There's this clock ticking where if a team doesn't get a player, so what? You still have a team. But if a player doesn't get signed, they're screwed. So, as you can imagine, one side gets a lot more leverage. The other side gets absolutely nothing. Players benefit from that, zero. There is no benefit for a player to want a trade deadline or a free agency deadline. There's no value in terms of money or even bargaining power or negotiation. There's nothing. Sure, they would probably want it done, but it would not light a fire under the team's butt like it would the player. Like the team still wants to sign him, and they would get a little bit of leverage, but the leverage would just swing way over to the team, just like a lockout swings way over to the team, right? So this is just a prime example of Rob Manfred wanting something that benefits him and his owners and doesn't really help the players out, which is odd considering what case he tries to make in his next 4 points. Point number 2. This is one of my favorites. Revenue sharing and salary cap will make players more money. So, a little bit of context here. Specifically, this was his quote from the piece by Evan Drellick of The Athletic. He says to the investors that they could be $2 billion plus richer if they decided to equally split the game's revenues with owners some 20 plus years ago, and suggests MLBPA leadership does not want to deliver change. Now let me explain this just a scooch for you. What he's referring to was a deal put forward by the commissioner's office to do a 50-50 revenue split, like set a 50-50 revenue split in stone, and have a salary cap. Okay? So we will share, you guys will get 50-50 no matter what if we do a salary cap. So what he's saying is it will guarantee money. Because right now the revenue split's about 50-48. I've talked about this in the past. The goal is to get to 50-50. But for it to be, that is if you're trying to be mutually exclusive. But right now, if I'm the players, I want to have more of the revenue than the teams, because they're not ever operating in good faith. So they should then why should you try to be like, hey guys, 50-50 is good. Like, just get what you can get. That's the ecosystem right now, right? And then what he said is the players would have made $2 billion more had they taken that deal. That's only true if that 50-50 split applied to current team valuations now. So what he's saying is if you guys just did it, revenue now, over that time, you would have made $2 billion more. Technically, if you take math like that, sure. Maybe if that CBA was locked in for 6 frickin' CBAs, first of all, and 2, when you get a salary cap, what revenue is then becomes the conversation. So here's the things that he left out that make everything he just said stupid, as if taking that deal back then would have been a good idea. It wouldn't have been. The players made the right decision. If you remember, they said, nah, and then the World Series got ended. Players held out, and I think that it worked out for them long term. So here is the problems with that plan, Rob. 1, there is no independent audit requirement. In order for a 50-50 revenue split to happen, the players would have to know exactly how much revenue there is. As of right now, 29 of the 30 teams don't tell you. They could be doing anything. We have no idea. And when they first proposed that, they didn't include that either. So they're like, hey, you're just gonna trust me, bro. This is how much money we made. Okay, billionaires, you're really good at telling people how much money you made and being truthful. So of course that's not gonna happen. So and then they just, oh, what? That wasn't in there? No way. So, wrong. That money wouldn't have been, they would have found ways to avoid it. One of the big problems the players had with it is because what Rob says all the time is, hey, the other leagues do it. Well, you know what the other leagues also do? They constantly fight with their owners about what revenue is, and they still are. That's the biggest problem. Players saw what happened in the NBA and NFL, where revenue-based salary caps led to inevitable ownership maneuvering and frequent fights over what counts as revenue. They were constantly like, well, TV's not revenue. It's not baseball stuff. It's not at the stadium. They're like, well, advertising's not revenue. Like, they just kept moving that stuff because it was vague and it wasn't in their CBAs. And that's why baseball doesn't do it, because there's so many clever ways to do that. All right? So there's no transparency, and there was no clearly defined rules for what revenue is. The last thing, which drives me absolutely crazy, is there's a bunch of ways to also downplay revenue or profit. There's a bunch of ways to say, hey, we're not profitable, like every other company does right now. And I have a bunch of examples, and I can't wait to get these off my chest. One, I just experienced this with Amazon and Twitch, okay? Twitch.tv, which I'm streaming on right now, claims constantly that they are not profitable. Usually they say it when they're about to cut some sort of, they're about to fire a bunch of people, or they're about to cut the payouts to the creators that, create 100% of the value of the website, right? So every time they're about to do some shady thing, they say, guys, we're not profitable. But they're not profitable because their hosting, the way that the hosting works for the servers is AWS. They are charged hundreds of millions of dollars a year by a company that is also owned by Amazon. So the whole thing is Amazon's keeping the money in this ecosystem. There's no money going anywhere, but they are just charging a company so that they can say it's not profitable. So the reason that Twitch isn't profitable is because Amazon is purposely making it not profitable. That's literally what everyone does. Movie studios do this, where they'll have a movie, but then they have all this, they have like the prop house and the catering and everything's in-house, and then they just charge the movie studio or the movie itself a bunch of money so that the expenses go up, and then it's not very profitable, so they don't have to pay the actors as much. They do it that way. Everyone always does this. So teams would do this the same way. They actually already are. Here's a prime example. The Dodgers, under Frank McCourt, the last owner, he split the team from the stadium and the parking lot operations and charged rent to the team and charged the team to use the parking lots to artificially increase expenses so that profits were lower. So you know why? He could keep it. They always do it. They would do it in this case too. So Rob, no. So in order for this to actually work, this would also have to exist, which when they propose it, because they're going to, just pay attention. These things will not be added into the language. They won't be there. So full transparency we have to see all the financials and have a third-party auditor look at the financials of the revenue to figure out what it is. They won't do that. There needs to be public reporting of where the expenses are coming from. So we can't just charge all our own company's stuff in order to make it so there's no money being made. Can't do that. And you have to set clear definitions of what revenue streams we're going to be using, and those cannot change. Those things need to happen, and you'll notice they will not happen, okay? All right, that was one of my favorite points. We're going to come back to this in a minute because there's more. There's somehow more. Next up, he claims the MLB PA players don't want to facilitate change, meaning he's like, guys, players, your PA, they don't care about you. They don't care about you at all. All they want is to what? What do they want? Who takes that job for fun? What are we talking about here? Okay, so first of all, okay, silly. But basically he says explicitly that he wants to talk directly with players because he thinks leaders don't want change or their best interests in mind, like paying them more. Tony Clark, the PA, head of the PA, says that's stupid. You're trying to drive a wedge between players. Of course, he's trying to drive a wedge between the guys making the most money and the guys making not as much money. Classic union busting behavior, okay? And he is de facto saying, you make more money with the salary cap. More people make more money with the salary cap. Sounds great. It's not true, but sounds great. So in order for that to be true, meaning if you're saying, hey guys, you would have made more money had you just taken the last deal, you were saying, Rob, as the person who's like, hey guys, you should make more money. In order for you to say that, the owners would have to want to pay players more. You guys are in charge of this stuff. Like, you're the ones who do the paying. How is it the PA's fault that you are constantly fighting them? like it's like the villain blaming hey, that guy's not helping you, even though that person, the guy you're looking at, is the one doing all the harm, right? That literally does not make sense. You could decide not to do what you're doing the whole time. You could pay players more. You could figure out a way to get the guys at the bottom paid more. But you don't, because that's not what you want. So don't act like you're out here with players' best interest in mind, because you're not, okay? So he says that the top 10% of the league makes 72% of the money, okay? That's his next claim. Top 10% of the players make 72% of the money. This is true and sounds really bad for the majority of the league. I agree that that type of inequality is too big, but to say the PA isn't actively working to remedy the situation is just a lie. Here's the last CBA for you. Last CBA, what were the things we fought about? Pre-arbitration bonus pool. Guys with 0 to 3 years of service time getting extra money based on how well they play. The players, what did we say? Can we get $250 million so we could pay those guys more? The league countered with 25, 10%. And what number did we end up on? This is what caused the lockout for so long. This is why we went into spring training. We ended at 50, guys. So tell me again, Rob, which side wants to pay guys, younger guys, sooner? Us or you? Save it. It's the silliest thing I've ever heard. So, that, based on your actions, that's not what happened. Also, the players fought to raise the minimum wage up $130,000, and they got it. So they raised the minimum wage, and they fought for pre-arb pool, and you guys fought against both things. So which one wants to give players more money? Which one doesn't? That's what I thought. There's another comment from him, and this is, I believe, the fifth point he makes. The PA is losing players money, okay? Quote, my first deal where I was chief negotiator in 2002, we were spending 63% of revenue on players. Manfred said, today we spend 47% on players. And I said, quote, yeah, you are the one actively changing that number. That isn't the PA, that's you. You did it. So this comment's really funny for a lot of reasons, and I need to bust out the whiteboard for it, because boy, oh boy, okay? So here is the whiteboard. Let's make this bad boy big, because it's time to get the demo out, all right? Here's the deal. This is so fun. Okay, so here's the claims he's made. We're gonna try to make this make sense, all right? So this is in 1994, he said we should have taken the 50, oh, this is hard, the 50-50 split, right? So this is what he's like. You should have taken this, and you should have taken the salary cap. Salary C, okay? So this was the deal proposed then, all right? He says that if this would have been taken, you would have had plus $2 billion. I didn't put the 2 in there. Let's put it $2 billion. Okay, so he said, had we taken this deal, we would have gotten $2 billion more. Then he says, 8 years later, in 2002, the players were making 63% of revenue. Interesting, Robert. Had they taken this deal, they would have only made 50% for those 8 years. So what this tells me is the players made the right decision. What? You literally proved yourself wrong. Like immediately. This is proof that that isn't true. So, what are we doing? Then he said, and now, in 2025, they're making 47%. He says this to illustrate the point that the PA The PA, because that has dropped 16%, the PA is letting the players down. Now, there's a tiny piece of truth there, but you got to remember, the person saying it is the reason that the number one reason that has dropped 16% is because of Rob Manfred. So even though he's like, hey guys, it's gone down, the PA isn't as strong as it used to be. Yeah, no shit. Because of you. So you're not the person to tell us this. That doesn't make me want to listen to you anymore because you lied about this stuff and then you said that thing. So this whole thing is like, what point are you trying to make? You are not the good guy. You, at no point are you the good guy. You're not the good guy. And so part of his strategy is to reach the players and make them feel and trust him. Why would you be trusted when you have actively lowered the revenue? You've proven that you are actively trying to ruin revenue for players for the last 23 years. So why would anyone trust you to have their best interest in mind? Okay. So, what do you guys think? You think he really cares about making sure the players are taken care of? No, and I'm going to prove that I have a last point to prove also there. Let's get right back into this up here. So, that was fun. I love using whiteboards. We're going to bust that out more often, I think. But the last thing we have, he made one last point. Or there is one part, last point, he will lock out, that he will do a lockout. And that is something he's been very clear about before, okay? So, remember last time we had this, it was immediate. Lockouts are when the team locks the players out. Strikes are where the players walk out, right? So this was not initiated by players, it was initiated by the teams or the league. The league only does that to maximize pressure immediately. It's a leverage tactic. It is a coming out hot tactic. And that's the only way this guy operates, right? He never operates in good faith. He is a lawyer. There is no such thing as good faith. Like where, hey, we can come up with a deal that is mutually beneficial. No, he wants to win and he wants more stuff at the end. And for me as a human being, it's just gross. It's just gross. To like want to do that for your job, it's just gross to me. But again, teach their own. I just hate it, okay? But let me just explain how not in good faith this man and everyone around him, including the next guy who's going to take over for him is going to be the exact same way, so don't think it's going to change in 2028, okay? Here's a prime example of something that happened in the last lockout that shows how empty the things that they say and do are, okay? There's something called the Joint Rule Committee, okay? It is a group of people that are supposed to vote on rules before they go in. There's been 6 rules. This came out last time, 2 years ago. So in that time, there's been 6 rules voted on. That committee is made up of 4 players, 1 umpire, and 6 people from the commissioner's office or owners. So if you're doing the math, that is an automatic majority to the league. So you can say, I wonder if the players are ever going to be able to say no to something and win. I wonder. The answer is no. There's been 6 votes. Every single one of them has been either 7-4, with the players like, we don't like this, and the league said, we don't care, which legitimately has happened, where they've just been, guys, stop being so difficult. That's real. That's a real thing. So it's either been 7-4 or 11-0. So if the players go, hey, we don't want this thing, we're going to fight it, doesn't matter, it's going through anyways. So what's the point of the committee? Good question. There isn't one. It's this facade of we're taking input from the players. We're taking input from the players. But they don't have to. There's nothing to force them to do it. Like, they don't actually have to listen. They can act like they are, which is what they do. But they don't actually have to do it. So that joint committee that's supposed to be bipartisan or both groups is represented mostly by one side that always gets what they want. So what's the point of having it? again, silly. And that's everything he just said is exactly the same as that. It's fake. So it's very important to notice this last thing. I'm going to leave you with this before we head out of here. Last quote from him. He wrapped up the investor call with this. We had sort of a purposefully mysterious process that we refer to as the Committee on Economic Reform, and purposely mysterious in this sense is that not everyone needs to know exactly what we're doing all the time, despite what the press wants, despite press interest. Ah, yes, Bobby, you saying we don't have to tell you really makes us trust you. Keep it up. You're good at this. So in conclusion, gaslighting, expect it. As we get through this thing, fans and people at home, he's going to come for you too. He's going to say, look how rich these guys are. They're too rich. He's going to say stuff like, he's going to insinuate all that stuff. But always pay attention to what he doesn't say. What is the opposite of it's a push and pull. So what is the opposite of what he says? Notice if there's any time he says anything, if there's anything included that keeps him and the owners accountable, there never will be. There's never anything included in a proposal that is any sort of restriction on them. And that tells you all you need to know. So if you're excited for 2006, you're not as excited as I am. And that is our main story for the day. Keep it up. Let me know in the comments what you think and how you think it's going to play out. All right, guys, I'm going to take a little break, and we're going to go live over on Trevor May Baseball. See you in just a moment.